Welcome to the webinar. Today we will go through our Discover the Possibilities session. This is for clients who have either received an fi360 Toolkit trial or are interested in receiving one. If you haven't gotten one yet, feel free to sign up for a 30-day trial on fi360.com. Today's session will go over some general basics about fi360, some features and functions within the toolkit, and your next steps for success. fi360 has three main components: training, tools, and resources. All of those surround practices, which are at the center of everything. Our mission is to promote a culture of fiduciary responsibility and improve the decision-making processes of investment fiduciaries. Training includes our AIF designation, Accredited Investment Fiduciary designation. There are also some other training programs we provide, such as the AIFA, Accredited Investment Fiduciary Analyst, Fiduciary Essentials, and many other programs that might be of interest to you. Our tools support that training. We include investment research, monitoring, investment policy statement creation, and expense tracking and report creation, all within the fi360 toolkit. There are different versions ranging from Toolkit for advisors, Toolkit for service providers, and many other resources that you'll be able to tap into. In addition to resources, we have other things, which is our third aspect of our company, that may be of benefit to you. Things like our designee portal. We have an annual conference that you can attend to gain continuing education credits, not only for your AIF designation or AIFA, but in addition to that, other credentials that you might have. We were founded in 1999. We're a privately held company located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Trained over 10,000 investment professionals, again with that AIF, AIFA, and our other programs, and we provide analytical tools to over 2,000 firms. These firms may include small RIAs, fund companies, broker-dealers, wirehouses. Lots of different companies come to us for tools to analyze investments, help with their monitoring process, build portfolios, and other services. So the main point of this presentation is to show how fi360 helps you, and we have 6 points here that we'll go through in more detail later in the presentation. First off is you can establish plan expectations and watch list criteria in the fi360 toolkit. A vital portion of success lies within establishing plan expectations, not only for you as a service provider to the plan, but also people like plan sponsors, investment committee members, even individual clients that you're working with. Maybe they're high net worth or you're helping them with retirement. Establishing plan expectations really is going to help overall, not only from the beginning, but also to succession and through retirement. Establishing watch list criteria will give you the ability to monitor portfolios, and this is all going to be linked back with our investment policy statement creator. You establish those expectations, you assign duties and responsibilities to certain parties, and that watch list criteria will set that hurdle for investments to get in and stay within a portfolio. Second point is to monitor funds within the fi360 toolkit. We help with that, and the score itself will take into account different criteria with different factors and thresholds, and we have some supporting documentation behind all of that. But in a nutshell, it's a score between 0 to 100. It's a percentile rank within its peer group, and it gives you a snapshot into how a fund is doing overall. Third here is the ability to win new business using fi360 proposal reports. Most people are interested in gaining more assets under management, winning new business, having new clients within their firm, and proposal reports will provide a powerful and compelling way of showing differences in lineups, whether it's between the score, investment performance, expenses, highlighting specific criteria you want to look at, and finally following up with an action plan on that. Next, we have the ability to build your own reports for clients. We do have stock reports within the toolkit that many people use, but if you want to bring a custom experience to your clients, we have the ability to pull in different sections, over 40 of them, and create your own report. These reports may be specific for 401k clients. You might have a certain set for individual investors, maybe a different set for foundations, endowments, trusts. Up to you how you want to build your own reports. After that, you can also build fee documentation templates. We provide 408b2 and 404a5 fee disclosure documentation within the toolkit. For those of you that aren't obligated to provide that, there's some general fee and expense reporting that you may be interested as well, showing the revenue sharing, the plan level fees, where money is being exchanged. And then lastly, we have the ability to manage funds globally and generate batch reports. So the previous 5 things that were discussed there, those are on more of a micro level. To leverage this in the best way, you can manage funds from a watch list on a global level and also generate batch reports. If you have 50 clients, instead of going in and generating a report for each one of those, you can set up a batch which will execute and provide a report or multiple reports that you select for a subset of clients. So maybe 25 of those clients are 401k clients. You want to provide them a specific monitoring report template you've built. You execute that batch once you've created it, and it will provide that once it's done generating. So the overall theme here is really speeding up your process overall and creating something that you can fall back on to know that it's consistent and it's concrete and you can deliver it to all of your clients at once. The ability to replicate this is going to help take you to the next level and bring success to you and your firm. So we're going to go into a little bit more about establishing expectations, and this again falls within the investment policy statement, and you'll see that we have a snapshot of one of those, and this is for a 401k. But within the toolkit we have multiple IPS templates ranging from retirement plans, 401ks, individual investors, foundations, endowments, trusts. This is all dynamic in that when you create your client and you identify them as a type, the investment policy statement will follow suit. So things that you might see in a 401k IPS and certain legislation, certain requirements may not be applicable to other client types. But in this case, our snapshot here focuses on the executive summary portion, just establishing the basic information for the plan, the purpose, the statement of objectives. So this is laying that foundation when you either win a plan, or if you're bringing this to a current client and providing them a new process, it will set that foundation for success. Inside of that investment policy statement is watch list criteria. So you're upfront about what criteria you're using for monitoring funds, and it's very clear once it comes time to report back to clients if a fund is on the watch list, the reasons why, and you can explain that in detail to them if they would like to hear about it. So going along with that theme of custom criteria, you can add up to 15 different criteria points that you want to look at. You can include the fiduciary score, expenses, performance, risk, operations, mix and match how you please. You can establish thresholds for each of those, a level of importance, so maybe you have certain weightings for the score. It's very important. You want to have that as required. But the rest of the criteria you have in this case here in our example are optional. So you don't necessarily need to have a complete required set of criteria. There is some room to breathe when you're looking at funds on the watch list. Moving further to the right, we have quarters evaluated and quarters required. So you can put a time screen over some of these. So maybe you're looking at alpha over 3 or 4, 6, 10 quarters, however long, and you want to have a certain level that it needs to pass. Maybe 3 out of 6 quarters it needs to be above 50th percentile. So in this case we're just looking at 1 of 1, which is the most recent quarter, and then there's also missing data treatment. So in this case we have a pass in our 10-year return. So some funds that are in a portfolio may not have a 10-year return. If they do, we're going to look and see if they're in the top 50th percentile. If they don't have data, we're going to give it a pass for that. We're not going to count it against it just because it doesn't have the history. So overall, this custom criteria set will allow you to monitor funds on more of an automated basis and also set that expectation with your client upfront about how you're going to monitor the portfolio, and if funds don't pass this screen, there will be some sort of action taken. So diving even deeper into the monitoring funds portion, we have fi360 fiduciary scores that you can look at, again a snapshot into the fund. We have expense ratio information and total return information. So 3-month through 10-year returns, percentile ranks for those, number of funds within the calculation, median fund or ETF performance in the peer group, and then an index that can be assigned to that peer group. So this is just a basic report that you can get in the toolkit. This is called the snapshot report. And again, scores, expenses, and returns, very straightforward, easy to look at. And as you can see, some of these funds may or may not have some issues. Now, if you're looking for more detail behind that score itself and you're going through the monitoring process, you may want to consider running something like the investment profile report. This will go into more detail about the fi360 fiduciary score. You'll see that the score includes style consistency, composition, inception, net assets, manager tenure. Those are all located in the top portion. And then the 6 on the bottom will include net expense ratio, alpha, Sharpe, 1-year total return, 3-year total return, and 5-year total return. So when we put all of those together, we have thresholds for each of those, and then we get a raw score which is translated into a percentile rank. So for example, within the mid-cap blend peer group, there may be 900, 1,000, 1,200, however many funds. Each individual fund will get a raw score, and then we put it in context of the peer group. We give it a percentile rank between 0, which is the best, and 100, which is the worst score you can receive. So all of that is a consistent process, and we've been focusing mainly on monitoring funds. But if you want to create fund lists, maybe you want to screen them just in case there are funds that may fall onto the watch list, you can use our analyzer to apply that same criteria that you use for monitoring funds when you're finding new ones. So in this case, you'll see a few screenshots of our analyzer. You can just search via ticker symbol or QSIP or fund name. If instead you want to find best in class, you can add over different factors and thresholds. In this example, we have small blend, fi360 fiduciary score less than or equal to 25, alpha top 50th percentile, and inception date of greater than or equal to 5 years. So if that's what you use for monitoring funds, then you can apply this again when you're researching for new funds. Maybe a fund is on the watch list for a year, 2 years, 3 years, however long it may be. If it's now time to replace that fund, you can find funds that are passing the hurdles that you've set up in that investment policy statement. So it's really a constant renewal and cycle of monitoring funds, finding new ones if we need to when they're on the watch list, replacing those funds. It's not just going to be set it and forget it. Obviously the toolkit will help automate a lot of this, but there will be some sort of activity if funds fall on that watch list to find new ones, and the analyzer is going to help you out a lot in that regard. Once you've built out fund lists, whether they're for current clients or prospective clients, you can apply these within our proposal reporting section, which we noted a little bit earlier within the summary in the beginning. And once you've built out that fund list, you know these funds, they've been vetted, they pass your criteria, and if someone comes to you and says, you know what, I'm not really happy with my plan right now, maybe they have a list of 30 or 40 funds, you run them through the first screen, maybe you put them in the analyzer, you create a client ID and run some basic reports for them like a snapshot, and you find there are some weak funds in there. And you can match them up and find suitable replacements via your recommended fund list. So you've built that out in the analyzer, you have that recommended fund list. The next step is to go into the proposal report section, and this is one area where you can see how you can map funds over. So in this case we have a BlackRock fund, and this may or may not be doing well, but in the recommended lineup there are 2 funds, Lord Abbett and JP Morgan, and you can split those out however you want. There could be 1-to-1 mapping, many-to-one, or one-to-many. As long as you have dollar values, you can do your mapping. Another side note is if you don't have dollar values, you're just doing a basic screen of the funds, dollar values are not required. They'll be okay if you don't have the dollar values. By putting in this information in the proposal report, you can hopefully get a third-party score, unbiased view of how both portfolios are doing, and you're going to find that within the fi360 Fiduciary Score. In this scatter plot report, it's going to get the wheels going within your client. It's going to get them asking questions like, why is our current scatter plot all over the place? It doesn't seem very honed. It doesn't seem to be getting good scores. And within this scatter plot on the bottom axis, the x-axis, we have the fi360 Fiduciary Score, more of a short-term score. But then the 3-year average, a little bit longer term, is on the left axis or the y-axis. So as we proceed to the right and up, worse scores will be appearing. Now on the right-hand side, the proposed scatter plot, you'll see it's a tight offering, has solid short-term and long-term fiduciary scores, and the size of the bubbles are depicting the amount of assets within each investment. So you want bigger circles down in the bottom left corner, if anything. So that proposed scatter plot is a very solid offering. And again, this is a good way to provide a visual to your clients. If you had to lay down one report section of all of the reports that we have, this would be the one. This would get the questions going. This would open up the conversation. And it's nice to know that there's no cherry picking going on. It's just, this is the fi360 Fiduciary Score. There's a prudent process behind this. It has a lot of criteria backing it. It's sound. And what we've found is the current scatter plot and the current funds that you have not doing too hot. The proposed scatter plot shows here doing pretty well, and the new funds could be potential winners. So that proposal process will hopefully win you new business, and when you do win new business, you'll be able to create custom reports for your clients. Now this won't make things tedious for you. All you have to do is create your templates once, and then you can run them multiple times moving forward. And these reports can span across all client types, or you could create them for specific clients, up to you how you want to approach this. But again, over 40 sections, you can see on the left-hand side, all you do is highlight the section you want. It'll show you a preview. You can add it over to the right-hand side where our selected report sections are. You can change sorting. You can customize even within different sections themselves, whether it's hiding or adding or using different individual sections. You can change the order of these, and you can put in things like custom logos, color schemes, disclosures. All of this is available within the fi360 Toolkit. And then to follow it up, this custom reporting can then be leveraged via the batch report process. So you create a few templates, maybe you have 50 clients, and you want to run all of those templates for 50 clients. Won't be tedious going in and generating each report for each client. All you have to do is set up the batch process, execute that batch, and at the end of the quarter or month, when fresh fiduciary scores and returns and expenses and other metrics come out, you'll have your reports to deliver to your clients. One aspect of the toolkit which could be helpful across all client types is our model portfolio tracking. One good example of this is if you're working with a 401k and you have multiple risk-based portfolios set up and you would like to track the performance of those over time, see how they're doing against median fund portfolios. And this is going to show an example of what it looks like just in the beginning. We don't have too much performance reporting to show since it can get into a lot of detail. But we have our conservative, moderate, and aggressive portfolios set up here with an example allocation. It'll show the differences in those. And then again, you can show performance over time and see how things are doing. We also have the fi360 Optimizer, which is licensed from New Frontier Advisors. It gives you a ballpark idea of the broad asset classes that you should be in and serves as a foundation for building out portfolios like these. Another feature which is worth noting is our fee and expense options. Again, 408B2 and 404A5 disclosures may or may not be your responsibility, but either way, if you'd like to document fees, you can create a general expense report within the toolkit. On this section, you'll see that we have service providers established here. You can put contact information, show if they have a direct agreement with the client. And there's examples like ADI Trust or G&L Accountants within this service provider section. Once you've established the profile and an ID, You can then use these IDs to map over to specific fees. So if you have administration and record keeping fees, whether they're bundled or otherwise, asset-based fees, all of these can be associated with a service provider. Now, once you create these compensation profiles, which again are specific to the fees themselves, you'll be asked to put in a compensation code and a name, which will be important for identifying those fees within the toolkit, display name, which will actually show up on the report, how it's assessed, whether it's a flat fee, percent of assets, a fee schedule, a one-time fee, the services that are related to that fee, so whether it's participant level record keeping, payroll processing, participant education, valuation, trustee services, could be hundreds of different things, and you can even customize those services, so when you generate your report, those are documented. And then lastly, when you create this fee, you'll be asked to input a payer and a payee. Now the payer is the person who is paying the fee. It's where the money is coming from. The payee is who is receiving this fee. So the payer could be company assets, plan assets, could be anyone, and the payee in this example could be record keeper, broker dealer, RIA. If you create a service provider type and you assign that to a provider, you'll be able to link that fee to a provider and show a general fee and expense report. Just a quick glance at what our fee and expense report looks like. We do have some charts, some tables that may be of interest to you. You can show those service providers. Again, along the top you'll see Investment Manager, MDC Advisors, Silverbank, Tabner and Shore Inc. All of those are service providers to a plan. On the left you see compensation source. So where is this money coming from? Company assets, plan client assets, any other sources, and then the compensation recipient. So those service providers listed along the top, what are they receiving for maintaining the plan? So we dove into a little bit of detail about those reports, also discussed how you can leverage that batch reporting process, but from more of a back office monitoring perspective, you can take a look at information across the licenses that you have within the toolkit. So getting a feel for how much business do you have right now, how many dollars are within each client, how long have these clients been within our fi360 toolkit, how long have they been receiving these reports. You can see how many investments they have offered and find more details about that. And then you can also flip the view and see if we're client indifferent and just want to see a list of investments and how many dollars are invested in them. You can do that as well. You can add notes to these funds, you can put in watch list decisions and watch list notes, look for overall reports on watch list management, see how long funds have been on the watch list or off of the watch list. So this is, again, more on the macro level versus a lot of the micro that we were talking earlier about. And this will allow you to manage things on a high level and see if there are funds that you're heavily weighted within across all of your clients, or if there are some clients that you have within the toolkit that are sizable and need to have a little bit of extra servicing. That might be the case as well. Really going to be a valuable tool to access this global reporting section. So that does it for the presentation for Discover the Possibilities. Again, the toolkit is going to be a useful product that you can apply within your firm. It'll really hone the process that you may or may not already have. And your next steps for success will be contacting solutions@fi360.com to get a free 30-day trial. You can also sign up for our Getting Started webinars. Those are live weekly webinars that go over use cases, and they're great educational sessions if you're just getting started with the toolkit. You can also learn more about our AIF training and designation, view sample reports, even sign up for our conference, and all of that is located on fi360.com. If you're interested in the AIF or the toolkit sample reports, go to that products-services extension and you'll be able to see more information about that. So thanks for watching this. Really appreciate your time, and if you have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thanks from fi360.